Hey everyone, Scott Cunningham here, aka Scottsy Business. Today we're going to be talking about crypto scams and their biased supporters. And not necessarily always scams. Not everything we're going to talk about is a scam per se, but there's obvious red flags. There's a lot of sketchy stuff going on with the project, and people will biasly continue to support said project because they have a financial investment in it, and they're too far into the rabbit hole to be able to just turn around and give up on it, or warn other people and then take that negative financial hit for doing so. And there's some people who may just be roped up into it, or they don't understand, or whatever it happens to be. But what I want to really talk about and zero in on is the people who continue to support these projects when they know something is not right. And they don't know exactly what, maybe they do, but where does the line, where do we draw that line of, are you actually scamming people or taking advantage of people versus, you just don't know enough about the project, or you're trying to make your profits and get out, whatever it happens to be. The problem here is that the crypto space has a lot of stigma already. So it's on people like us who are, I create content for the crypto space. I'm starting to become more, well known in this space. And it's up to people like us, creators, the people who are, advocating for cryptocurrency, to actually expunge all of the scams and the sketchy projects. It's not on us to, turn away and hope, they get their profits and then they stop and then it's done. It's on us to get rid of all that and clean up the space so that new people will come in and we get rid of all these stigmas and, all the concerns people have coming into cryptocurrency and blockchain, about all these things that are very complex and ridden with scams, because it's new and people can take advantage of that. So it's on people like us to fix this. So what do we do? Do we go after projects directly? Well, the problem with that is most people that are going to actually watch the video, that are going to comment, are going to be people from that community, aka they have a lot of good reason to try to downplay everything you're saying, maybe attack your credibility. One thing that I notice is they rarely actually are concerned with the actual claims being made. Instead, they'll say, you haven't done enough research, or you are, lying, or, it's something about your credibility, or you haven't done enough work, or something that you're doing, rather than actually dealing with the specific claims that are being made against said project. So I'd like to just briefly talk about a couple different projects and how I feel that they rank in terms of how sketchy they are. But I'm not calling any of these scams. You've seen before, I've made a video about the red flags for identifying sketchy projects or otherwise scams. I use the same checklist for every project. There's no bias, right? It's the same thing. Everything goes under the same checklist. Now, for the projects that fail many of these red flags, I feel some responsibility to highlight these, because other people may end up investing in it, or whatever it happens to be, or just putting their money in and they can't get it out. And in my mind, those people got scammed. Whether or not you want to say they were actually scammed, if you didn't have access to all the information, you missed something, whatever it happens to be, if you bought something or spent money on something with a certain promise in mind, and that was absolutely not the case at all, I think that's pretty sketchy. Again, I'm not going to go out and say any of these are scams, but let's talk about some of these projects, because, people could say the same, you can lob the same accusations at Bitcoin or whatever. People buy Bitcoin thinking that they're going to get super rich and then it might go down in value. So, isn't that the same thing? It's drastically different. And let's dive into some of these and actually talk about why. So there's a few different categories of what you could consider a sketchy project or a scam. So the 4 examples I have for you today, again, I'm not necessarily saying that these are scams outright, but there's a lot of sketchy stuff going on. So Hex, Theta, SoMee, and Whaleshares. I've covered way more. DLive is pretty sketchy, but I think these are great examples of different levels of sketchiness, so to speak. So, and I'll explain why. So Whaleshares isn't technically scamming today, as far as I'm aware, but I've gone very in depth with this, and I'll link the previous article where I actually talked about this. But Whaleshares previously did scam. Every Steam clone that I've seen, aside from like Hive, which is very different from a clone, has been very, very sketchy. Waku, basically a scam. Whaleshares, you could probably call it similar. It's been getting worse and worse in terms of like if you can actually sell your Whaleshares, if you can actually like swap them, trade them, have good liquidity and access to everything going on. But that's not a scam. What was a scam with Whaleshares was one of the original witnesses when it first started, because I was there from the beginning. Actually, multiple witnesses. There was about 3 or 4 that were selling tokens on a DEX that you could buy and then spend to get upvotes. The whole reason Whaleshares was created was to deal with the issues around upvote bots on Steam. It only took them about a week or two to create their own versions and profit massively. Then when they decided, it looks like we're doing the same thing that Steam was doing, let's fix this. Again, these were the witnesses, so the people who had a lot of power on the platform. They said, now we're going to ban the idea of upvote bots. It's like, okay, that's fine. But what they did was they just discontinued their tokens, and they made them lose all of their value because now they can't do anything and no one is buying them. So now anyone who had bought in those tokens is now holding those. They're worth nothing and they can't get their upvotes. So what do you call that? When you buy something, someone tells you it's going to do something, it does do something, and then systematically they change it so it can't do the thing that you were promised. And it was by someone in authority, multiple people in authority on the platform. What would you call that? I would call that scamming. And, it's been a long time. Some of those people have left, some have stayed. The community itself, avidly claims that they're not scamming. It's not a sketchy project that happened before, but it's done. But they also won't, reimburse you or, fix the problem. So that's where you start to get into the weeds of things, because if they actually think that there was a problem before, but they don't have any intention of fixing that or making up for it or whatever, then clearly, it's not very genuine, right? If you see that your company does something wrong to someone, typically, in outside of crypto, you would have to settle, or you'd pay them, or whatever it happens to be. I'm not suing them, but think of it in a context outside of crypto. If if I'm ordering internet service from Bell and they don't deliver the service that I paid for, 6 months later, I say, Bell is a sketchy service, don't use it. And then they get upset with that. Well, if they wanted to fix the problem, they would probably reimburse me or give me free internet or whatever it happens to be. That's how you deal with customer support when you've done something wrong. What I see a lot of times in these blockchain projects, especially Whaleshares and a few others that I won't bother to name because, they're still working their things out. If you've done something wrong and you don't fix it, or you take years to fix it, or, you just keep saying eventually it'll be fixed, eventually it'll be fixed, that doesn't fly, because you're not actually trying to fix it. You're not prioritizing it. You're not even updating people on it. At what point is it malice and at what point is it negligence, right? So let's move to the next one. So these guys may not be scamming now, but they have a history of it. So that's the first example, a bad history with scamming. The second example I have here is SoMee. This may be a scam. They don't have a history of scamming. It may be a scam, and I'll tell you why. On SoMee, you can earn, tons and tons of SoMee. You can do all this stuff. Great. But you can't get your earnings off the platform unless you pay them an exorbitant fee. That fee is about $100, $120. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's somewhere on here, but it's over $100 to verify your account. And once verified, then you're allowed to take out your SoMe points and sell them. Okay, well, if I really do have $2,226 worth, then paying $100 should be no problem. But this is a lie, because even once you do verify, you have to go through all these hoops to get your money out. You have to get approved to take your money out. There's still all these, restrictions, and they make it as hard as possible. Plus, they said this year you would be able to spend your SoMe to verify, and then be able to get your SoMe out. But again, that is not the case either. And I'm sure if I asked them, they would say, oh, eventually. So the difference here is, though, because they make it seem like I've got over $2,000 worth of SoMe, naturally, anyone who sees this would think, oh, well, I should just go and verify. I should just give them $100 or whatever, which you have to pay with PayPal, not even cryptocurrency, which is very, very odd for a crypto platform. But when you see this, you think, okay, let's go and do that. But there's barely any liquidity for ONG. If you actually got your SoMe out for real, it's absolutely not worth this much money. There is no freaking way. It's not worth $2,000 plus. All right. There's barely anyone using this platform. There was months where it was unusable and just completely not working. Their advertising system doesn't work. You can buy G-Bucks, you can earn G-Bucks, but you can't spend them. And now they have this. It's like, hey, spend $175 to get, 4,000 power? Spend $500 to get 13,000 power. That's insane. I've got 50,000 earned just from using the platform casually, just sharing my content. And I've also got another 115,000 in SoMe points. Why would anyone pay exorbitant amount of money to do this? Well, this is new because they want to get more money from you. Because you could spend all this money and still not be able to get your points off the platform, because you still have to verify. And if you verify, you still have to go through all these hoops. You have to be approved. It's very, very sketchy. And again, I cannot prove that this is a scam because they haven't technically done anything, scammy per se. But when they're telling you that this is worth thousands of dollars and the only thing you need to do is send them your money, and then you can unlock thousands of dollars worth of cryptocurrency for free, or rather for $100+, it's illegitimate. And anyone falling for this is going to have a rude awakening, because you're going to be putting all this money into this platform and you'll never be able to get it out. And if you finally somehow manage to, I just don't see it happening. Eventually, I will try to make this work and see if I can do it, and then I can actually show you guys. But this is in the category of, could be a scam. But I'm not saying it is. These are the kinds of things that you got to watch out for, though. Again, the simplest red flag for any platform ever, is, can I get my funds off of the platform? Not even necessarily funds that you earn, because, they can make the argument that we have to verify because for legal reasons when you're earning money on our platform. But if you put your own money into the platform, you haven't earned it, it's your money that you've deposited, and you cannot withdraw that. That is the biggest red flag that you can possibly have for a crypto or blockchain social platform. If you can't get your funds off the platform, it should be very obvious that it's not a safe platform to use. So the next one we have is Theta. I would say half of Theta is basically a scam. The live streaming portion of Theta is just completely sketchy. It's illegitimate. I wouldn't trust it at all. I'm sure the Theta token, when you're using that and you're running a node and you're earning Theta, I'm sure that's legit. So all the people who get upset with these videos that I make about Theta are always complaining because they have nodes and they're making a bunch of Theta, but if I'm giving it bad press, that's going to be very bad for them. Almost never have I seen people who actually use Theta.tv actually come on and say, hey, like, I use this platform and you're wrong about this. Usually it's just people saying, screw you, the value is high, so clearly you're wrong. And, I've made a video before talking about high value does not equate to legitimacy. A perfect example of this is, see their 3 partners here? Which one of these do you think is the biggest? Obviously Samsung, right? So if we click on Samsung, it takes us to this video. It's like, oh, I thought this was going to take us to the partner website. Oh, here's the partner website. Let's go and check it out. Oh, it turns out they've ended the service and they're no longer working at all. And of course, they still list them as a partner, esports on blockchain and everything, but it's completely non-existent. That's interesting. This only happened 3 weeks ago. So then let's check CoinMarket and see what the price of Theta is. Oh, well, Bitcoin just went up a crazy amount today, so it's probably going up. But you can see this massive drop off right around the time that it became obvious that Samsung wasn't working with them anymore. So you can see that it's kind of on the downtrend, but it's gone up a little bit recently because Bitcoin is just doing phenomenally. But it blows my mind that Theta is rank 30 with all the ridiculousness around their actual live streaming platform. So again, this could be fine, Theta itself, fine. Although I wouldn't trust that, a bunch of their media advisors are like from YouTube and Twitch. And obviously they're not trying to make a better platform. They're just trying to make the same centralized, sketchy, awful platform, but with cryptocurrency involved in some capacity. In what capacity, you might ask? Well, a very little capacity, because what they do, and it's on their website. You can find it in their help section. It explains everything. Let's just bring this up. How do you earn T-Fuel? Well, you earn it from watching other people, but you also earn it from them using your excess bandwidth from your when you're on their website. So not only are they, well, it doesn't really matter if they're paying you for watching streamers, but what the real money that they're getting from you is by using your bandwidth so that they don't have to, and then using your bandwidth to sort of run their servers and do all that good stuff. And they're going to pay you in this tiny, tiny amount for T-Fuel. Well, what is T-Fuel actually worth? It's not worth very much at all. What can it buy you? Not very much at all. You cannot withdraw T-Fuel from this platform. So whether or not you deposited T-Fuel or you earned it, it's locked in this platform. Again, if you cannot get your money out, that's a huge red flag. I would say that's very, very sketchy. And the reason that I say half of this is a scam is because anything going on this website, I feel is very, very illegitimate, whereas the Theta nodes are very legitimate. And those people are making money off of the people who are foolish enough to sink their money into this. And those are the people who will always criticize what I talk about because they're making tons of money off of this happening. And I don't know how much more they're making from people using this, but it's definitely getting them more, publicity, and, they've got a platform behind them and all this good stuff. But when you actually look, it's like, what can you actually buy with T-Fuel? So when we're actually on the Theta store, you can see very clearly that there isn't a whole lot here, right? You've got face masks, some merchandise, some basic stuff, but there isn't very, very much for you to buy. The one thing that they do have in stock, they have a couple Nintendo Switches. They're available in quite a few places, but who's actually going to earn this much? The whole model here is based off of the survey point model, where it's like, do surveys, earn a certain amount of points. Once you get a certain amount of points, then you can finally spend them and redeem them for a $50 gift card. It was a time sink. This is a time sink, and they're using your excess bandwidth. So that's how they're getting the money out of this and getting the value. And rarely is anyone actually going to earn enough to do this. The only people who can take out of the platform are partners, according to this. I've had a streamer say this is outdated, and while they were an affiliate, they were able to, but according to this website, they are not. But these are the only people, according to the website, T-Fuel partners, who can actually withdraw. And there's still a 45-day time frame for it. So, wow, that's awful. And how many people are actually going to be T-Fuel partners to get their money out if they deposited money without realizing that they couldn't get it out? It doesn't warn you when you deposit your money that you can never get it back potentially. And that's unfortunate. And everyone else on the platform is benefiting from that, while the people running nodes are then benefiting from all the adoption and all the usage and all of the volume and all the hype. So, of course, those people are upset with these videos, and of course, they will get upset again with this one. So, yeah, that's Theta for you guys. The last thing on the list we have today is Hex. Now, I'm not going to call Hex a scam because, again, by definition, technically it is not a scam. Hex is the only one out of these that isn't a platform. The other ones I was reviewing social media, blockchain, or cryptocurrency platforms. In this case, Hex is just an actual cryptocurrency, but it is so sketchy that I wanted to make sure to include this as the top level, as sketchy as it can possibly get, because nothing about this is legitimate. And again, I won't call it a scam because technically all of the information about Hex, can be found on all their websites and stuff. So technically you're not getting something that you were told otherwise, but it's definitely going to end up bad for you. You may get lucky, you may get some profits on the way, because as I said in my other video, high value does not equate to legitimacy. Just because it's worth a certain amount doesn't mean it's safe, and you can make money on scams, but you really shouldn't be if you know that it's a scam. I mean, scams can still go up in value, and you could still buy low and sell high, but is it right if you actually know what's going on? Again, I'm not calling this a scam because by definition it is not, but this is one of the sketchiest projects out there. This whole article goes through everything that you could possibly need to know. The only criticisms I get from people are saying things like, oh, you could lob the same criticisms at Bitcoin, just silly things, or they try to downplay my credibility or say, I haven't done enough research. Rarely do they actually, quote something or talk about something that I've talked about here, or a specific claim, and go through it and debunk it. It's just opinionated, right? They're not saying anything that I've said was wrong. They're saying they disagree with my take, because everything here is publicly available information. This isn't my opinion. It is my opinion that it's a sketchy project, but all the facts here are the facts. Some good examples real quick of why Hex is really sketchy is, their Stake Hex LLC, the company that was founded alongside Hex, they closed down. Due to evidence of possible manipulation of the Hex market value, I can no longer recommend Hex with a clean conscience. That's what it says right at the top of the website. And in case you don't believe me, anyone can check this for themselves. And this was in February. Why in February? Well, because in February is when Richard, or whoever actually owns the flush address with all the Ethereum that goes in from minting the Hex, they realized in February that that was when he was taking out all this ETH. And it was about it was in January. So it was a month after that happened. And you can see these two articles here talk about it. It was $7 million worth, US dollars worth of ETH. It was withdrawn from the flush address. And more than likely, when Hex was pumped, was likely because the ETH could just be pumped right back into it and then pumping the value. And that can be done infinitely by the flush address owner, which is obviously Richard, but he can't admit that for legal reasons. And again, it's very obvious why, because he's manipulating the market. His partner closed down Stake Hex because he knows that's going on just a month after he took out all the money and he realized what's really going on. He admitted himself, Richard admitted himself, that in a live stream with Crypto Zero News, which I've linked right here, he admits that all the bonuses, all the payments, everything going to the origin address are then sent to 10 to 12 other addresses which stake for 10 years. This means that all the fees, all that extra stuff going to him, he doesn't claim to have control of it, but it's then going and locking up for a very long time. So he's getting more and more and more of the total supply of Hex, and then he's staking it to take more and more and more of the rewards. So slowly but surely, he's going to eat up all of the rewards. And if he keeps just infinitely printing more Hex, then he could just inflate it to an insane amount and then eat up all the rewards. Whether or not he does that all at once over a long period of time, whatever it happens to be, he is slowly but surely going to take over all the rewards, all the value. Everything about Hex is meant to benefit Richard in a zero-sum game, meaning that only one person's going to win at the end, and it's going to be him, because it's going to slowly go more and more towards him at a faster and faster rate. Again, he may not do any of this, but the simple fact that he has the power to, and we've already seen that he's taken in January, he took out the $7 million worth. Clearly, something is going on. He has the power to. Stuff is being moved around. Things are happening in the background that are very sketchy, but people just brush this off. And this is the whole point of this video. Crypto scams, or, sketchy projects, and biased supporters. It's people who will ignore the plethora of objectively true evidence of how sketchy the platform is, and instead they will continue to support it because A, they're invested in it, they want to invest in it, or maybe they're fully aware that it's a scam and they just don't want to be wrong, right? Because when people get into scams, when people follow gurus, when they do all these things, eventually you've sunk so much money yourself that if you admit that you were wrong, then all that time, all that money, everything goes to waste. But only if you admit you're wrong. If you keep going, then at least, in your own mind, it was all for something. Like maybe it will bounce back. Maybe the price will eventually go up again, and then I'll be right. And then it's like, but look, even if the price does well, that doesn't legitimize the scam. You might have just gotten lucky before it went to zero. It's inflating at such a crazy rate. it could be upwards of 800 billion by the end of this year. And with about double the inflation rate of Bitcoin, that would be about 30 billion hex every year inflating, and then obviously more and more and more. But that's going to so massively devalue hex, and most people are just waiting for the big payday where like just a crazy amount of hex will be given out to all the stakers. But after that, then what? After the big payday, I'm sure a bunch of people will sell out. Maybe he'll pump it. Maybe all this crazy stuff will happen, and maybe not. But when he's got the power to do this, and by design, it's basically a zero-sum game where he's just going to get more and more of your ETH, more and more of the fees going to him, more and more of the supply being all taken up by him and then staked. And, he's just going to keep doing this. The interesting thing you have to ask yourself is, why does he even want your Ethereum? If hex is so good, why not always instantly take out the ETH and then buy more hex? It's simple. It's a process for him to continually cycle the ETH and print infinitely. And if he continues to hold the ETH, it's because he clearly knows that ETH actually has a good value behind it and hex doesn't. Otherwise, he would just hold hex if he truly believed that, right? Why bother holding ETH if hex is better than ETH? It's pretty simple. It's because it's not. And the reason that they're going to keep doing this is because people have just brushed all this off as if, this is normal. This is a part of a cryptocurrency. It's like, oh, don't you understand how cryptocurrencies work? Oh, this isn't very different from Bitcoin. Yes, of course it is. People can't just print Bitcoin infinitely. It's not inflating to infinity. It's scarce. It's so radically different from hex that making the comparison is laughable. So this has probably gone on longer than it needed to. But again, this all comes back to sketchy projects, scams, and their biased supporters, or people thinking that because it has a high value, then it's legitimate. You got to watch out for this stuff. And again, I'll link the previous red flag video that I did because there's obvious red flags. And the easiest one will always be, can you actually get your funds out? Now, that doesn't apply to hex because the red flags is for platforms that have crypto or utilize the blockchain in some way. But when you're looking at an actual project like this, and you actually dive into it, because originally when I invested in it, I did not know about this stuff. And then when I found out, I sold, and then I started to write about this and dive into it because it's important that people have all of the information. I have no problem with someone reading all of this, having a full idea, 360-degree view of what hex really is. And they say, you know what? I still think it's going to go up. I want to invest. I want to make some money. I say, hats off to you. Go for it. But don't be upset if it tanks or if something terrible happens because it's a sketchy project. You're better off investing in something that has good fundamentals, right? That is a good core project, and has support, has a use case, all these good things. Bitcoin is a very good store of value. Ethereum is very good for development. I've covered all these use cases, so to speak, of crypto before. Hex has no use case. I can buy groceries. I can buy beer with Bitcoin, with Ethereum, with Dash. I cannot do this with hex. The only use case for hex is to possibly make money. But because it's a zero-sum game designed to funnel all that money back to Richard, whose name is really Richard Hart, not Richard Schuler, not Richard Hart. It's just an all-around really sketchy project. And again, I won't call it a scam because by definition, it's not. They've got, everything is publicly available, even though their partner at stake, Hex LLC, seems to think that it is a sketchy project with price manipulation, because very obvious that they are manipulating the price. But again, let me know what you guys think. Do you think Hex is sketchy? Do you think Theta is? SoMe, Whaleshares, these are just some examples. There's a lot of bad projects out there, but I wanted to kind of go through the different categories or specifications of what they could look like and what the differences might be. So you let me know though. What do you think about these projects? Are there any other sketchy projects that I should be looking at and sort of doing a deep dive into? You let me know, because people are going to lose a lot of money if they invest in these, or they put their money in and they get locked in, all these different things. So, and hey, you may make money too. So I'm not saying necessarily not to do these things, but after everything that I've showed you, I think it's pretty obvious what is a safe route and what is a not safe route, because the only reason you should ever take risk is for potential high reward. And I believe that I've showed here that the rewards are not very high at all. Only for a very, very small amount of people, a select few. Like on Theta, if you're running a node, you're having a great time. If you're using their platform, you're losing money. Internet bandwidth is being wasted on this, going to them instead of you being able to use it, all that stuff. So you guys let me know in the comments below. What do you think about all these projects? Am I wrong about any of these things? Feel free to issue any corrections and I will make sure to add those if there is anything that is wrong, because, when you're talking about exposing projects, you got to be very, very accurate. Otherwise, people are going to go after your credibility. So I'm happy to issue corrections, etc. Because I want this to be as accurate as possible so that people have all the information ready to make the best decision for themselves. I'm not telling you to do anything specifically. I'm not even calling any of these an outright scam, regardless of what the title says. But you tell me. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this video to the very end. Since you did, it'd be awesome if you could give this video a like and comment #1ham in the comments below. Also, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe to this channel and follow me anywhere under @ScottCBusiness, because I'm basically on every platform. You can find all the platforms that I am mainly using though at www.scottcbusiness.com. You can also find all my social links as well as my crypto addresses if you'd like to donate to me on Cointree at cointr.ee/ScottCBusiness. And you can also donate directly by donating to scottcbusiness.crypto or scottcbusiness.eth with supporting wallets. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate your support. I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Sketchy Business, signing off. Cheers.